where obviously, especially now rockets are as important as they are, having the ability to just sponge all that damage is going to be really important. But going into this first round, let's have a look. This is winners finals. The winner of this will be going to grand finals, winner side, and will make things a lot easier for themselves moving into that all-important grand finals later on tonight.
And I feel like seeing how long some of these grand finals can take place in that sort of double elimination format where the reset can take place, getting grand finals on the winner's side is going to be such an amazing comfort zone. You know, you have to do essentially a little bit less work than the opposition if they're on losers, but Myztro, that early soul take. I actually like the patience from FaZe, being held off a little bit, having to use that rocket jump straight into the Mega though.
Oh my lord.
Yeah, very nice little optimized movement right there with the rocket jump.
I think it was enough though, considering that, I mean, it was good for Myztro to obviously bag that first soul, but I mean, they tried to stop him, but that was amazing. Oh, wow, hang on. Speaking of amazing, that's suicide. Not quite so much.
Yeah.
But, that nice movement there just to try and capture that point. But Garpy was there to really salvage that quad damage he picked up anyway. Only really has a machine gun in hand, but that's more than enough damage. Wow, it looks like Lift was able to come in and steal it away using the barrier. But FaZe are going to take him out, and there's some nails and the asses. So Myztro not only have that first capture, 20% on the board already. They've basically juggled this quad damage between a couple of players from start to finish.
I think it was really good for those guys. Lift, he was only going to survive for so long with that 6 HP. Yes, he had the shield up, but the second he pulls the trigger, that shield's going to be down. He's going to be a guaranteed death. But one thing about the WinRAR license salesmen, they've kind of switched up some of their roles and some of the champions they select. You know, even like Bus Driver X, for example, where pretty much before this tournament, if you were watching Bus Driver play a champion and sacrifice, it was probably going to be Sorlag through thick and thin. Whereas now, since Denver, we've seen a little bit more variety come out of these guys. They're mixing up the champions a little bit more. We've seen them play on Blood Covenant, and they have gone for slightly different champions there as well. And I quite like the variety these teams are bringing to the table.
Hell's very nice defense there, using these rocket launchers, just being really useful so far. Getting 2 of them there. Liz getting caught in the corner there and dropping the soul because of it. And Hell, I mean, he just wanted to get the health, came back in, and then just, I suppose, with that one-man defense, why not? Nice couple of rockets coming through, and that's gonna be something today that we're gonna be looking for. In terms of like adjustments for the game, the LG really kind of was the go-to weapon for the majority of the time in Sacrifice for the longest time. But the LG did receive some changes, and now the focus has kind of shifted onto rockets, onto rails, and Soul. Looks like being stuck on the roof there.
I quite like that idea that Razy, for a split second, was just kind of staring at it because he realized he didn't actually have enough health to go for the rocket jump. Otherwise, he'd have blown himself up and had to just kind of sit there and watch it all happen, unfortunately.
Already, though, FaZe able to steal away the obelisk. Looks like winrar weren't really able to get too much percentage there for it, as Myztro looking to go to the 50% mark, and another one of those jumps over the top. FaZe, it's 2 for 2 on those, landing those right as he needs to.
But here comes protection, and that fight went completely in winrar's favor. Bus Driver now with the slash. He's going to pick up that Mega, which is just ultimately going to make him such a pain to deal with right here. He's going to land in with the rocket launcher. Even if he doesn't get a frag here, he's taking such reduced damage, and slash with that insane speed, I think he's going to quite comfortably escape with the soul in hand.
But that is the power of protection. Even if you are by yourself trying to take away that soul, I mean, you're so hard to kill, especially on a champion like Slash that can kind of just run around with that plasma trail, make it really hard to get chased. And it's going to at least drop it off, and it looks like winrar a little bit of stability now as they start to slowly creep up on these percentages, and that power up now going to be up for a very long time. So if an honest attack right here is going to have to come out from Myztro.
Well, they're going to be challenged for a short time. I think with Myztro having that sort of coordinated attack trying to go in, you can see FaZe actually just being a lot of harassment coming through. Razy, really healthy, and I like that little bit of movement on rocket jump there to make himself really tricky to hit. They do manage to drop things off, and winrar, I mean, they did get a nice amount of percentage, but that was because of the power-up. They were able to sort of seize that power-up, and that was a big part of them getting that early lead, or I guess early climbing percentage more than the lead. But right now, Myztro looking super comfortable.
I actually really like that pathing though. I mean, we saw Garpy go for that exact same rocket jump over that wall there, where normally, you know, really your sort of go-to way to stop the opponent capturing is kind of just, you know, hold those doorways, hold those choke points that players want to try and ideally go through. But if it's via a rocket jump and it's literally through the air, you kind of have to predict that, which means you're not putting as much focus on the choke point themselves. But already 83% for Myztro. They're looking really strong so far. However, winrar, they were able to get it through, but Hell is there swiftly, and he's going to land straight on the plasma trail. No! That's going to survive that berserk coming through. Trying to get away with his life, has the soul in hand as well. It's kind of a really nice development for Sparty there. But no, gets railed before he can drop it off, and Bus Driver, but that return rail anyway. Trying to make sure his team still holds on to it, but looks like Myztro are here again trying to stop it. Garpy goes down, but Soul is passed over to Hell now. Just trying to get it away through. Oh, the plasma trail does too much damage. Bus Driver just swoops through, takes it again, and that is going to be a capture.
Juvenile has got the quad damage, but even with that injection, you're going to be doing more damage, but it doesn't really do anything for damage reduction, right, in the same way protection would. So He's going to be on borrowed time, even with that Mega. If they close in on him and take the quad, they might be able to use it. But I actually think Juvenil's done a really good job of staying alive so far. But they've got a lot of work to do in this round. And they've got quite a deficit to face, and Juvenil just trying to stay alive. I think the worst thing he could do right here is give up the quad.
I mean, that quad damage can't have long left on it, surely. He's had it for a while. I've done a bunch of shots. Must be running empty soon. Hell trying to get his defense. Hell really kind of has been that go-to attacker so far. Oh, wow. Nice rocket as well. Starter shotgun doing a lot of damage as well, but the Soul now being held on.
They actually tried to head them off, but I like FaZe's decision to go straight forward instead. He actually specifically saw Juvenile take that left turn, expected them to go near rocket. I know he ultimately went down anyway, but that was a good decision before he went out.
Oh, there we go. There, that berserk mode. You can hear the screaming. You know how fast that Doomslayer is going to be moving. And if he's holding onto the Soul, it's quite hard to stop him. It's going to be a whole team here.
Oh god, here comes Garpy. I mean, he was only going to survive for so long right there, unfortunately. Kind of going into berserk with two enemies right in front of his face. And to be honest, winrar, I think they're doing a good job of climbing things back up there. Myztro had such a fantastic start to the round, but just look at that percentage. winrar salesman there on the verge of starting to even things out.
I mean, they were losing quite substantially, but they've done a great job of just stopping the bleeding and grouping up. That's one of the big things. They're now grouping up quite heavily as a four. When they are defending and they have got that obelisk, they are being able to just the four of them here together defend the obelisk, which is something they were struggling with early on. But just as quickly as I can say that, Myztro are here trying to take the Soul away. Is Hell trying to get that safe transition, but oh no, it's going to be taken out by the Gauntlet. He's just trying to get as much distance as possible. They're struggling to stop him, even if he dies here, but he's not going to. Juvenile just manages to walk it straight there with two people on his back.
I was very worried for a second when he bumped into that wall. I think like losing his movement could have been quite a punished mistake, but because he had the injection left, because he was able to fight for it, that was all going to be good. But here comes the power-up. This is going to be a crucial power-up. Very important power-up indeed. It's going to spawn, it's going to be protection. Juvenile temporarily had the protection, but he's super, super weak. He does manage to survive long enough to get both the small health bubble and heavy armor. So he is going to be a bit of a pain right now, especially with the other small health bubble too. And there you go, full health. This just turned things around quite significantly.
Speak which though, Juvenile having that protection, that is going to be tough. I mean, just look at him here, just defending this obelisk. He is unkillable, or at the very least, very difficult to take out. And now it is in fact winrar. They have that 90% at the moment. They are officially taking the lead in this first round. Oof, and those defensive rockets. But I say struggling to get a hold on this one. One by one, Myztro going in.
Likely to be this first round in the favor of winrar, which is kind of crazy because it was really dominant for Myztro at the beginning, but I think at the last minute there, Juvenile sort of keeping that protection, but I actually loved his ability to stay alive. Now, it could have gone completely pear-shaped. I think he had about like 9 HP or something like that before he collected that small health bubble, which led to the heavy armor, and essentially made him very, very difficult to deal with. I think that split second he took to, before he got back into the fight near that obelisk, is to just get as much of his stack back as possible. That is what allowed their team to hold off as long as he needed to win the round. Very impressive.
Yes, indeed, but moving into round two, that first Soul is going to be up in a few seconds' time. It lifts that Suicide. It's going to make this a 4v3 fight. No, make that 3v2. Hell, 2v2, in fact. As that's going to be an exchange with Sparty with that rocket launcher right as it spawns. And that prediction that he's going to try and get in, but it looks like, oh no, drop the Soul. So Myztro lost control of it.
Yeah, if Razy would have tried and pop his injection, the issue was that if he died right before he tossed the Soul, he was essentially just going to give it to the competition. I don't think he quite wanted to use the injection just yet, but unfortunately, all it really took was a small little bit of a shotgun blast, and that would have been more than enough. winrar, though, they've got the early lead. If they can seize this power-up, it looks like they may not be able to right now. Razy has the quad damage, but with no armor, he has to be super careful here.
That's the thing about quad. Quad does make you a dangerous killing machine, but it doesn't do anything in terms of your health, so you are still vulnerable. You are someone squishy, and there we go. Nice. There's that wall, but there we go. That gauntlet straight through, just to put a stop to that, and Juvenile is now paced. That's going to be a clean capture for Myztro. Lith dies again, but really trying to go in. Juvenile, that shotgun, wow. A lot of damage, and that's a triple for hell.
You can see why players go for the starting shotgun and sacrifice, right? How so consistently, you know, you're going to be at a close range, and because the power-up is very prominent, you're going to be at a range where your highest output of damage is always going to come from that starting shotgun, considering how often you're going to be dying in sacrifice too. But the second you get quad damage, it pretty much means even if you get the quad fresh off your respawn, you still have a weapon that can melt health pretty much in an instant.
And that's kind of case in point, right? That's we saw Hell go on an absolute killing spree. But Lith's here again. Lith's is actually getting a lot of deaths here around this obelisk, but he's always here trying to contest, but he is consistently being taken down. I guess that really is the weakness to Clutch when he's getting caught without that barrier. He is a big target. He does have a lot of health behind his back, but still, when he doesn't have a barrier, significantly easier to take out.
But from what we saw at Denver, the important thing as well is the communication. When Clutch is looking at a specific target right before his shield goes down, there's an element of communication required to say, this guy's looking at me and this guy that's attacking me right before my shield goes down needs to die as quickly as possible. So Clutch can stay alive on the point. That was a nice little answer using the Gauntlet as an answer to Berserk. I mean, ever since Doomslayer's come out, I think that's been a constant answer to his Berserk right there, revving the Gauntlet. Kind of is forced to run into it, even if he doesn't want to.
Speaking of forced to, Hell trying to paint that plasma trail around the obelisk to try and get a clean capture, but Bus Driver is a little bit faster on that one as he already had most of his plasma trail painted down, and Hell unfortunately running straight into it. So their protection will be up in a few seconds. And it takes a few moments for an entire team to get here, though. We can see winrar are kind of, they have that barrier ready on the point, the suicide, and the protection goes to Clutch. Perfect use of that barrier just to really deny anyone getting in to contest that pickup.
Litz has a good awareness, and he has a good awareness on that shield wall to make sure that the second the protection actually appears, essentially if Clutch is standing on that point and he's got a shield wall ready, it's very, very difficult to challenge this champion if he's using his shield wall correctly. And just look at this fantastic sequence from Litz. I think this protection has given them such an amazing amount of percentage. This is looking to be a very dominant map for them so far, and this was their pick.
Juvenile getting a nice couple of rails there, just denying Hell coming in straight from the front, but FaZe getting a few return frags of his own though. But I think if Myztro are going to take this obelisk, they have to do it soon, as that's a 75% to 28 lead. They have stolen it though, but there are a lot of people here ready to defend. Hell trying to give his teammate passageway through. I actually think it was Garpy there popping the Berserk just to get around in time. Sparty just getting juggled with a couple of Gauntlet hits from below.
Yeah, I think those two Gauntlet kills did a really good job of keeping Garpy alive, just long enough to make sure that he was going to be able to get away unchallenged. But talked about how much work was required before, and I think Myztro, they have pretty much the same job. winrar were able to pull things off from round 1, but Myztro have to do the exact same in round 2.
Oh, well, it's going to get taken down another time though, but Bus Driver here ready to contest, but FaZe and Razy getting that defense on point. Sparty here though getting a nice kill with that super shotgun. Litz doing the same thing, but Sparty is going to get melted too. The soul's been picked up, so Hell going to try and drop this off again, but he is surrounded. No, it was in fact Juvenile that managed to pick up instead.
Waiting for the rest of his team to follow up, maybe try and help him take some passage back. He goes down, but Litz with that shield wall on the point, it's going to be very hard. You're going to have to wait out the shield temporarily, but at this stage though, when you've got 80% in climbing, the shield wall being up for the time it is, if you're forced to sit there and wait for Clutch's shield to disappear, that's pretty much a percentage you can't really challenge, but it's a percentage you don't want to give up this late in the round.
Hell passing over to, I believe, yeah, it was going to be Garpy up there. He does have Berserk ready, but not a lot of health. It's going to be dangerous. Mega health going to be up soon, though. You can see them waiting out, trying to pick this up. And it is, in fact, going to go to Garpy. So Garpy looking quite tanky here. But all of the members of winrar here to get that quad damage to contest that power-up. Garpy was able to move out with the soul, but unfortunately giving up the actual power-up in the process. Yeah, it could be disastrous for Myztro if they can't put a lid on this. Now Juvenile with that quad. Oh, so many Gauntlet kills from Razy, but he will manage to do it.
Very, very brave plays right there, but I think he had no other choice. If he goes in there, if he gets that point-blank attack with the Gauntlet and he can steal it away, using the rest of the quad to seize that point, this might have been the breakaway that Myztro have been looking for.
I mean, it's a good start, as we can see. They not only get the soul, they were able to take that quad damage back before. I think it was Juvenile really trying to be one of those forefronters on taking that soul back and dying in the process. Kind of just gave up that quad damage for free. There's actually 3 abilities now. Going to be all 4 of them ready for Myztro. They have everything they need. All that Berserk is popped by Spy. He's going in, trying to chase, but hasn't actually managed to get the frags yet, but he still has a chance, and that will be it. Sparty going to take out Hell. Razy soon to follow. Sparty, a nice triple on the point. Might by himself just be a capture on that soul, at least taking it off for now.
Trying to chase things down. Juvenile has to be kind of careful here. There's not really many enemies around though, but trying to make somewhat of a more unpredictable route back towards the obelisk. Myztro only 3% separating the two teams now, so they did have a good little job of defense right there, but yeah, Juvenile is having to be super careful. I think the last thing he wants to do right now is give up the soul accidentally here.
Yes, indeed, but the soul hasn't quite gone back in yet.
Oh, nice.
That's probably going to be the capture they need. We can see it has been dropped off. Now, every second counts as we go into that 90%, only 10% left. And we drive them higher. There we go. There's a Clutch on the point with a barrier ready to go and a circle of plasma trail. That is a dangerous point to try and take off, but 96%. They have seconds left to try and contest this.
The problem is they're in a situation now where they have no choice but to pile in one after the other. And if you're piling in one at a time, I think ultimately it means the fights aren't likely to be in your favor. Can they hold off? 1 more percent is going to be required, and they do manage to seize it. 2 straight rounds. winrar, Salesman looking really good in this winners final.
Yeah, it was a nice turnaround. I mean, that first round definitely was slipping away from them quite fast, I think. Myztro definitely seemed to have a lid on things early on, but it really came down to the longer the rounds went on, I think winrar just looked a little bit better. I think you said right before, it was kind of like a big thing about working with Clutch on the team, especially on Ruins, is that element of teamwork, that element of communication. And it definitely seemed like winrar looked a little bit better with that the longer the rounds went on. You know, using the barrier in combination with the plasma trail, using it with your teammates nearby, you know, saving it for power-ups, saving it for defenses, whatever you need it for. I mean, it's just such a powerful ability to have in a mode like this, especially when you are communicating with your team that, okay, now I'm going to use it, so I'm covering this area, now you guys have to basically do the rest.
I think we're at a point now where Clutch being picked on the Ruins is pretty much a very common thing. And to be honest, I'm actually surprised to see Myztro not really go for that. Because one of the, I suppose, first European teams we would see go with Clutch. I know back during the QWC days where Liquid, even back then, were rocking the Clutch pick on maps like Ruins, and they seemed to be one of the only teams doing it. The only other team that was really doing that was actually Myztro back in the day, where Garpy was often sort of being the flexible champion pick, where you kind of have that set selection of, I believe, Anarchy, Slash, and Sorlag.
And Galena too. You know, it was Galena as his pick. I believe it was Lockbox.
Lockbox, I think, was the Galena, pick. But I guess my point is, I'm actually really surprised we didn't see Garpy go with Clutch on Ruins of Sarnath when he knew that was the map we were going to be seeing, purely because of how much of a difference we've clearly seen this champion make since Denver. But at the same time, I know Garpy sees that Doomslayer, he actually has said multiple times he thinks Doomslayer is his strongest champion, and we've seen some really amazing things from him out of Duel at the very least. But Blood Covenant is going to be our next map, and this is where the champion picks once again will start to fluctuate. I believe I expect. I
was actually just about to say, yeah. I think we might see some Scalebearer here, considering if there's one map we do see Scalebearer in Sacrifice, it's probably going to be Blood Covenant. You know, for a few reasons, right? Like, it's easy to kind of cover a lot of distance with that Bull Rush. It has a very short cooldown considering how much distance you can cover. The damage mitigation is amazing. It's great for that first contention of the point. You know, when the soul spawns just, you know, on the bottom floor, and you can kind of, you know, sort of run around and time it properly. But a big thing is his ability to contest the power-up. Obviously, the power-up spawns right at a teleport exit. So you, as a Scalebearer player, can time it. So you run through that teleport as the power-up spawns. So as it appears, you're running full speed out of a teleporter. You don't see him coming. You might hear him start the ability, but all you're going to have to expect is a full speed ahead Scalebearer coming out at full speed, which means max damage as the power-up is there. And it doesn't matter who you are. A full damage Scalebearer charge is going to do a significant amount of damage. It might not one-shot you, but if you're contesting the power-up, you might actually be quite low. You might already have taken some poke damage beforehand. I think the pick can be quite useful here. And it does manage to cover a lot of distance quite quickly between the two obelisks. So I quite like this.
Well, Blood Covenant it's given winrar the opportunity to kind of go back to some of the lineups that we've actually seen them go in the past. Obviously, going straight in for, I know Bus Driver isn't really using Sorlag in Sacrifice anymore, but at the same time, Juvenile has the opportunity now to go back to the Scalebearer pick, which we saw him use a lot in Denver, I believe. But to be honest, Sparty's pretty much been stuck to Doomslayer in Sacrifice since, to be honest, before I can even remember. He's been using it every time we've been seeing Sacrifice and Sparty. It's pretty much been this pick and this pick.
Ever since Doomslayer came out, Sparty has been playing it, basically. And I think that's really what it boils down to. He seems to be really happy on this champion. He seems to like it a lot. And clearly, he seems very capable with this champion. I definitely think that this patch has done a few good things for him. Obviously, the rocket launcher being so good, that double jump being an amazing way of juking around and being able to dodge those rockets in a way that a lot of other champions can't. It kind of adds that element of patience that your opponents have to do, that they can't just make those prediction rockets as quickly because they have to predict another layer, right, on that double jump. But in a game mode like Sacrifice, where rockets are, again, way more popular than they've ever been, just having access to that Doomslayer, especially someone that knows how to use Doomslayer, is really helpful.
Here comes Hell, he's trying to lay the trap. Juvenile, though, has been able to temporarily get away with the soul, and this is looking like it's probably going to be a drop. Garpy tries to chase it down, but I think he opts not to go for the stairs instead. May have been a bit too much of a risk right there, because Razy and Hell trying to push in towards this obelisk. They managed to take out Bus Driver.
It's quite unfortunate that first fight kind of slipped through Hell's fingers there, right? Because he seemed to have painted a nice, generous amount of the ground with that plasma trail. Seemed to get a lot of damage in, but ultimately, I mean, they just were, I think the numbers were against him. It was basically 2 versus 1. The Bull Rush was used to try and sponge through some of that damage. This is what he needed.
Now they've got access to quad damage, but unfortunately Bus Driver is unable to escape, which is likely to give the quad damage to Myztro for now. Phase with that Scalebearer, LG, and a ton of stack. It's going to be quite scary to defend against.
Well, he is down here, but they're doing what they can. Sparty coming in with that super shotgun. Oh, Hell very low here, but Sparty going to fall down to that nice quick swap around, and FaZe again is here trying to defend and get that soul back, but I'm not quite sure if it's possible. They need to get away from this point if they can. The quad damage does drop down, but probably probably not going to have a lot left on it by now. But the important thing is, during this entire time that they've been fighting for quad, the obelisk has just been raising up for winrars. Now they're on 35% already.
Yeah, and it's been a short space of time too. I think they've been looking so dominant so far, and it was kind of hard to decide how the run back would go, essentially, because when these guys fought last time, if memory serves me correctly, obviously winrar sort of being a bit more of a successful win rate against Myztro. But since the change, you know, where we saw winrar were quite visually quite uncomfortable at Denver when these guys played in Sacrifice. I think the strategies they were trying to sort of adapt and the way they approached Sacrifice didn't quite work with the patch. And obviously I know the guys didn't have a huge amount of time to adapt to the patch, so it's not really their fault. That said, I'm really impressed with how they've been able to turn things around and adapt in a short space of time from Denver to now. They're looking a lot more comfortable in Sacrifice.
I guess it's a few things, right? As long as you've got a bit more time with the game and you can really start to grind out and get used to these changes, then obviously those improvements will be made. But I actually want to talk for a second about how impressive Hell's shotgun has been. Like, even without quad, he has been really good at just picking those moments. The shotgun, quite
I mean, yeah, right?
I mean, it's kind of like, it's not the easiest shotgun to use. Obviously, like there is no damage fall off in this game. Like, it's all based on how many of the individual pellets connect to your opponent, and it is a shotgun, right? So there's a certain layer of unpredictability you're going to have. But if you can really get used to just how to place those shots, I think the big thing is the ranges, right? He's using shotguns at a lot of ranges where it's quite difficult to really make the most of that damage, but he's getting so much out of it, as well as a protection, as he is just going on a complete killing spree. And I think a super shotgun.
Yep, super shotgun and protection is quite a nice combination because you can get up close and personal, not many risks.
Hell, just nicked it.
I think he just literally swooped in and said, I think I'll have that. Goodbye.
I took it when you let your guard down.
I'll do it
and
again.
I'll do it again.
Right.
Goodbye.
Now they're going to use a little bit of free percentage as he builds up with this protection, but because it's spent so much of it to actually acquire the soul, they're going to have to do a little bit of an old-fashioned defense without it. But he's going to try and, yep, he's going to go
that
down.
Classic, that 360 around the obelisk, just trying to paint as much of that you cannot enter my domain damage. That's going to be a nice capture from at least Myztro, even though Hell is ultimately going to fall at the end of that killing spree. At least there's like 15%, almost 20%, yeah, now passing 20% for Myztro, so really doing a good job of sort of closing that distance a little bit, although the soul has been taken away already by winrar. It's been gone Scalebearer, who's likely using his bull rush to secure it, but no, a lot of damage by something.
Yeah, I don't think he was going to use it once he realized he was that weak, right? I think even if he's got a little bit of health left, if you're going to become the main focus target by all four members, that damage reduction is only going to do so much if all four people are shooting at you. But here comes Juvenile underground, but just look at the coordination by Myztro. All four members. He's going to use the bull rush to deliver, probably try and do a little bit of damage, and I actually love that pathing. Sticking slightly to the right, so he's able to not only drop off the soul, but at the same time, do damage to whoever was waiting on the point. Perfect optimization.
It's also another good use of Scalebearer in Sacrifice, right? A big thing is, players almost like committing suicide by running onto the obelisk just to drop off. So like, I know I'm going to die here, but at least if I drop it off, I'm getting some of that position back. My teammates can get to where they need to be. Scalebearer is going to do that while taking half damage because he's bull rushing in. So it's actually going to take a lot of focused fire to take him out before he actually gets to it. Oh, wow. Hell, that point blank shotgun. It does mean that even though, ultimately Scalebearer did die for that capture, just look at the percentage that has been raising for it. Already 80%. Most of the round is already done for them now.
Yeah, it's going to be the quad. Garpy has the quad damage, but unfortunately the time it's taking, and unfortunately as well missing that double jump onto the jump pad, it's going to waste a tiny little bit of time. The issue he's going to find is that when you're this far at the back and there's 8%, Garpy needs to make something happen now, so he can't really use up any of that quad damage time. He needs to maximize it.
So this is a good turnaround, 99%. They have to get this attack now, and that's going to be a nice frag from Hell again. Garpy's losing the squad damage. They're coming in. Sparty, fists out, trying to go through. Garpy on 2 health, cannot get around. But Striver getting just even 1 pellet of that shotgun would have been enough for that situation.
I found that was kind of strange, actually. We had Garpy was on the point with the quad damage, and consistently there were multiple teammates on that point.
No, oh, dearie me. There's no stopping the pain train. That is a Scalebearer who is on a mission, trying to capture that back, and that one sequence, that one bull rush has given the round to winrar Salesman as they go to match point, looking to make grand finals on the winner's side over Myztro.
And I think if you're going into grand finals winner's side, you're already going to be proving that you are the most dominant team in the tournament. And being able to, sort of having to take them out twice in a grand final scenario is going to be quite a tall order. So if winrar can get the grand finals here, Myztro are a very dangerous team. Very, very dangerous team in Sacrifice. If they get grand finals, it's likely to even think that they would probably be the favourites. You know, will this be almost like confirming them for DreamHack Winter by winning this winners finals? Who knows?
I think a big part of it though is adaptation. You know, like you said, winrar were looking really good in qualification stages. Oh, goodbye. FaZe is just going to turn you into hasty matter once again with that ball rush, doing so much damage. But again, you know, winrar were looking super strong going into Denver. They obviously didn't have as good of a showing as I think we were expecting at that tournament, but already with like a week in between then and now, look at the difference that this team has already gotten used to this new version of the game, and they are still already now playing a lot more clean.
Driver. Oh, that turnaround.
I will never get tired of seeing that. I will never get tired of seeing that ball rush do its thing.
Juvenile still on the soul away, but still plenty of this quad damage left. I think though, Myztro being able to take away the obelisk that they just failed to win against though, so good for winrar to, well, now I suppose forced to defend the other obelisk. It's going to be lifted a little bit of this quad damage. It's a nice amount of it left, only a few seconds, but can he get anything with it before it runs away? Doesn't look like it, as now he's left with very little armor, not a lot of health either, but numbers are here again. Ooh. Solid defense coming through winrar. They've got the obviously the other obelisk now. Things being switched up does kind of mean that things will be approached a little bit differently. Ooh, hell, took a lot of damage there, but Bus Driver with a standard shotgun is going to do enough damage easily there. A lot of damage on that plasma trail. It's quite easy to underestimate just how fast your life can disappear if you do get caught in that trail though. Especially in a mode like this where it has quite a lowish cooldown on it. The utility is great, and just look at the distance, right? Look at how much area denial you can create. I must say, it's a bit weird seeing Slash do that kind of area denial without the assistance for Sorlag as well. I know for the longest time it was Slash and Sorlag together were very important. It was very crucial too, to especially like have as defenders, but really having just the Slash, you know, clearly by herself is enough just to do a lot of damage and create that denial space. Juvenile with a ton of stacks so far, so he's going to be nice and healthy while he defends right here. Nice little mid-air as well. Deal with that, but Rocket, we've seen Rockets used a lot before in Sacrifice, but I feel like since the patch, now Rockets are such more of a big deal in Quake Champions in general. I think it's really starting to show just how well some of these players land their mid-airs. Like, even in Duel, when you see these players land these impressive shots, I feel like playing something like Sacrifice where the frags rack up over and over, it gives you a lot of practice, right? It gives you a lot of practice at landing those all-important rocket shots, and it just increases the general combat skill of these players.
Speaking of combat though, quad damage comes up, FaZe going to use his bull rush to secure it, and that's what I was talking about, using that bull rush as you come out of a teleporter just to create that, okay, all of a sudden I'm now moving at top speed, what are you going to do about it? As now FaZe is going through with the team, Myztro are here ready to, this is probably going to be at least a steal, but whether they can safely get it back, that's going to be the question.
Well, a consistent trouble the Myztro boys have been having is they're securing a power-up, but it's actually taking them around roughly half the power-up's time to even reach the obelisk. So by the time they've got the soul, they've dropped it back off, they pretty much have no power-up left. So getting that almost easier form of defense doesn't really last. And just like that, before the quad even disappears, winrar are able to once again safely deliver the soul back to the obelisk before Myztro can even get anything going.
I must admit though,
quite rough.
I actually quite like the what seems to be quite a bold decision to sort of swap champions off of specific players. So obviously we saw on Ruins, it was in fact Liths that was on that, you know, really crucial clutch, that big body defender, and it was Juvenile on the Anarchy. They've swapped it this time, so it is in fact Liths on the Anarchy, and now it's Juvenile on the Scale Bearer. But clearly it shows that versatility in the players, that they can do these very kind of different jobs, but with different, like dramatically different champions.
We're reaching a stage where these players are starting to really, you know, it's not about limiting yourself, right? It's not sort of, I play this one champion, that's it. Players are a little bit more open to variety, and variety is the spice of what makes Sacrifice so successful for these teams so far. But winrar, I think that they're on the verge now of moving on into Grand Finals, only 15% more, and they'll be moving in very comfortably indeed. They just look like a complete brick wall so far. I mean, Myztro have had their fair share of steals. It's just safely getting it back is what they've struggled with, and it was the same thing in the last map. It seems that once winrar really just established that defense, and the four of them are here, I mean, it's very difficult for Myztro to get anything around it. Although Hell only has a shotgun right now. Oh, Bus Driver and Sparty here, point blank. They just appear out of nowhere. It's probably with that swift punch to the chops. Oh, that was that coordination. Oh, FaZe goes down, but Bus Driver's in big trouble.
Juvenile going to get another frag, and that's going to be a protection on Scale Bearer. That is going to be one hard Galactic Warlord to take down.
Now, what I'd be very worried about is if Juvenile can get to this obelisk and they can start defending, which they are going to do. That's a lot of protection left, and with 2% left to go, this is likely to be guaranteed. I don't see them getting Juvenile off this obelisk. How are they going to take this guy out? I don't think it's going to be possible. This is probably going to be the end of the round.
Yeah, I think that itself, that's going to be a team wipe, and that will be winrar licensed salesman moving on to grand finals in the winner's side over Myztro. Now, that is a fantastic result for them. You know, Myztro have been a consistently really strong team, especially in Europe, and they are progressively getting better, right? They've had a few roster swaps here and there, but regardless, they always seem to be very reliable, very strong. But they are still in the tournament. You know, they're just going to drop down to the loser's side now. Obviously, they are going to have their work cut out for them there. But important, I think, for winrar to, especially after, you know, again, they looked strong going into Denver, but after having not as impressive as a showing at Denver as people were expecting, very nice for them to immediately, in the next competition after Denver, to go, okay, right, boys, we're back. We're in grand finals, winner's side. We got this.
I mean, the winrar boys, they clearly just needed time. Like, when the patch hit and when things were changed around a little bit, some of their teams, even speaking to the guys when we saw them play at Denver, and they sort of all seemed to agree that the OG was a big part of their team, and it was adjusted quite heavily to the point where they weren't really able to quite adjust in time for DreamHack Denver. However, in the span of a week, 1 week, it's been a week. It's very impressive how they've just taken that small amount of time they've had, but clearly they're getting back on track. I think it's important for winrar that they've been able to show everyone that they still have what it takes. They can make the adjustments when necessary. Now being in grand finals winner's side is a great chance for these guys to actually qualify for DreamHack Winter for Sacrifice. Being grand finals winner's side is pretty much the ultimate comfort zone. You can't ask for better than that. But either way, well done to those guys. We'll be seeing them later on. This isn't the end of